Well, greetings, people of the internet. Today, a video about a thing that somebody gave me. As you might have guessed, I like to keep my intros pretty vague. A thing that somebody gave me. Yes, I am, of course, talking about a server. Why would people give servers to anyone else other than Unky Joe? It's like every time people see me, they say, hey, you want to take my server? No, it's not really true, but I just thought I'd say that. I don't know why. Anyway, so yeah, today's video is about a server that a client gave me. And it's funny, I fought tooth and nail to not pick this thing up for months. Just trying to justify the fact that I wanted to bring it here to Unky Joe's Playhouse. And it took me 3 to 4 long months, and it's finally come true, and here it is, and I'm about to show you some stuff about it right now. Alright, so I inherited this from my one of my engineering clients. This is an ML370-G6 HP server. The ML and the DL are identical, except the DL lays on its side, and it's a 4U server, 3U server, whatever it is. I did get the cover with this, so it's all nice. So I don't know if you can see down here. It has a single Xeon CPU in here. It's not a dual, and it's only a 4-core. It's not a real powerful unit, but let's just take a look inside. So the cover opens like this. And of course you have a CD-ROM drive in here. You have room for another 5¼ inch drive. You've got the diagnostic LED panel up here. You have room for 2 USB devices, the UID identifier, power button. Then it has an empty drive bay. You can put, this unit takes 3.5 inch SATA drives, but you could, in theory, buy the kit and insert more SAS drives in here. On the bottom, you have 6 3.5 inch drives. So, and these are all SAS. These are all 1 terabyte SAS enterprise level drives that came with the unit. They were the largest drives at the time you could buy with the unit. Now, the reason I have it and the client doesn't have it anymore is because these drives were very unreliable. In fact, this unit has got a replacement motherboard in there. We had trouble with the motherboard on it before HP came out and replaced it. And then by the time it was all fixed and working well, it was too old and too slow to do what we needed it to do. So I inherited it. I told the client begged me, please take it off my hands, find something to do with it. So I promised him I would. And then I would do a YouTube video with it. One of the things I don't like about HP is how hard it is to get these drives out. They're in there rather tight. I mean, look at the force that takes. You're afraid you're going to break it just to pull a drive out. And it could be because it's sitting on a table, but there's one of the SAS drives that's in it. See the SAS connector on the back, so I'm just using them. I've set them up in a RAID 1, 2 of them in a RAID 1 array, just so I can use them as a boot drive, and then the others I'll put in an array. But let's take a look on the inside. Now, where this unit gets really interesting is on the inside when you open it up. So very easy to open. You just pull the lever, and then the case comes off very easily. Now, I'm not usually a fanboy of HP, and here's the inside cover of the HP. So it tells you what all your slots are, etc. We'll come back to that. I'm not a real big fanboy of HP. I prefer Dell's, as you know. But one thing I will tell you about this HP that I like is it's got lots and lots of expandability in it. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 fans here, and then we have a 5th one right here. The machine is relatively quiet when you boot it up, and it remains quiet. It's got a single CPU in here, but I can put another CPU in over here. Right now it's only got 32 gig of RAM, but that I believe that's expandable up to 128 gig of RAM. But you'll see the other thing I really like about it is you see all the PCI Express slots in it. And I'll share with you how many it actually has here shortly. But I just wanted you to see, right now I've got a quad port Intel NIC in here because the one that comes with it is not widely supported. I'll show you that here in a minute. And then I put an NVIDIA Quadro K2000 card in here. Now my plan was to fill this thing with 3 video cards and maybe put Unraid on it. But Unraid, while it loaded and worked, I could not get the IO MMU groups to work properly. So I gave up on Unraid on this machine. And you're really limited as to what operating systems you can run on here because the drivers are pretty sparse for this thing. It's been out of production for a long time. The last BIOS update was 2018. I went ahead and did that. That was successful. This server is probably in line with the Dell R710 series. But what this thing has that the Dell doesn't have is a plethora of PCI Express expansion slots. It also has redundant power supplies in it. So if I were to pop some additional cards in there, it shouldn't create an issue. The other thing it has a plethora of is serial ATA ports right along the top here. There's a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 SATA ports up there. So I can put I can put an NVMe drive in there, an SSD to boot off of, and then have the rest. So, what operating system do you think I'm running on this right now? I'll give you a clue. It isn't Linux. It isn't ESXi. I couldn't. The oldest version I have is 6.5. I could not get it to install. 6.7 would not install. Wasn't supported. Like I said, I did get Unraid up and running on it, and it was running okay until I tried to do some virtualization and tried to use video card in a virtual machine, and then it went. It just didn't want to work. So, if you guessed Windows Server 2019, you would be correct. And not only is it running, I've got most of the drivers loaded without issue. It just detected everything with the exception of a couple of devices. The NIC worked right out of the box, and the NVIDIA Quadro, I was able to load the NVIDIA drivers so that I can actually use that video card. Now this does have an ILO controller in it, I think is what HP calls their ILO, Integrated Lights Out. It's okay, but I've been pretty hands-on with this machine. I didn't use the remote access on this thing because it's kind of limited. I did find a license key to expand it to the full-blown version, but yeah, I had a little trouble finding drivers and stuff. This isn't quite as prevalent a system as, say, the Dell R710s, but this one is a hell of a lot more flexible. Plus, it has 3.5 inch drive bays. Actually, a great lab server because it really there's quite a bit you can do with this, and I'm sure if I had a little more perseverance, I could get Linux to run on this and figure out the IOMMU groups, but I'm a Windows guy. I'm a GUI guy. I like the GUI. Now, this has a RAID controller in it. Let's go over this panel real quick. Can everybody see that? Yeah. Alright, so it's got a RAID controller built into it. I'm just using the drives. I've set them all up as virtual drives, RAID 0 virtual drives, except for the first 2 SAS drives. I set them up in RAID 1 as a boot volume. So it gives me 1 terabyte of space. But you can see everything is clearly labeled here. SD card connector, power backplane connector, processor 1 DIMM slots are all clearly labeled. I'm toying with the idea of putting another processor in this unit because I have a couple of 5520s. I just need to get some more RAM for this, and I need to get a CPU cooler to put in here. But I should be able to pop another 5520 in there. So everything's clearly labeled. So what I love about this unit, though, like I said, was the slots on here. So we have slot 1 is a PCI Express by 8 421. Slot 2 is PCI Express 2 by 8 421. Slot 3 is PCI Express 2 by 16 8 4 2 and 1. Slot 4 is PCI 2 by 8. Slot 5 is PCI 2 by 8. Slot 6 is PCI 2 by 16. Slot 7 is PCI 2 by 8. Slot 8 is PCI 2 by 16. Slot 9 is PCI 2 by 8, 421, etc. And slot 10 is PCI 2 by 8. So the only older model PCI Express slot is slot number 16. And that is, I don't even see a slot 6. Oh, wait a minute. It's not 16, 16 on here. So that slot 1 is PCI Express by 8. It's not a PCI Express 2 port. So, and then it tells you your DIMM configuration right here. Rear panel components, front panel components, SAS device numbers. Mine are laid out like, they're showing the chassis on its side. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So the first two drives are from right to left on the front. So let's go ahead and power this thing on without the cover. Let's just see how it sounds. Now I'm only using a single power supply right now. As you can hear, it's not too noisy. I'm only using a single power supply. I also don't have anything plugged into the video card right now. I'm using the ILO video controller. Now the boot is not what I would call fast on here, but it's not too bad. So initially I was a little apprehensive to take this unit. The client's been after me for months to please pick the unit up, and I just was like, you know, the damn thing weighs 50, 60 pounds. Okay, so here we go on the boot up, and you'll see here in a minute that I flashed it to the latest BIOS. It's really weird, they don't increment the BIOS version. It was P63 when I did it, I believe, and it's P68 now, but the one thing I did notice is that the date changed. Yeah, 5/21/2018. So you see we got 32, and it's quieted down already. Got 32 gig of RAM, a single processor, 4 cores. It'd be kind of cool to get a hold of some 5570s to throw in here. So if anybody's got a couple of Xeon 5570s laying around you want to get rid of, shoot them my way. It'd be fun to put them in here. I just want you to see it booting into Windows Server 2019. The BIOS is easy to get in and out of. The controller software is easy to get in and out of. I think it's a 410 controller. And the boot up is not too bad, but these are SAS drives, not SATA drives. So even though they're spinning Rust, they're a little bit speedier than a SATA drive. And right now the unit's pulling about 169 watts with a single power supply. It does have redundant power supplies, but I'm currently not using both. There you go. So it took what, you know, maybe a minute to boot up. And I do have it joined to the domain JoesPlayhouse.local, and it is a domain member or a member server. So, all right. So before we go over to my workstation and start running some tests on this unit, let's go ahead and put the cover back on, because that is the way the server is designed to run. And you're probably not going to damage it by leaving the cover off, but some of the cooling on here is pretty critical, and it is in a lot of servers. You know, it's very important. You see the air can be lifted out like that, and it really needs to go across the fins of that CPU cooler. especially if we're going to put this unit under stress because the fans may ramp up. So it's fairly trivial to put the cover on here. See if we can get the bottom pieces to go in. There we go. Slide it forward, latch it. Okay, so now it's closed, and I'll let you take a look at the front of the unit. Not much going on as far as lights go, and but there it is. First of all, let's get a pretty background. Yeah, I know. Well, let's get a nice background. Maybe not pretty, but nice. And like I said, I've already connected this server to my domain. So I just need to go to the applications folder. We're looking for Microsoft. We're looking for server 2019 wallpaper. Got that one. Yeah, we'll go with this one. I like this wallpaper. Purple's my color, and I like space images. Again, not a real powerhouse of a machine. In fact, shit, anything on the market today kind of beats this. Any of the Ryzens. So we've got 4 cores, 8 threads. Well, I'm sorry, 4 core, 4 thread processor, so 8 logical processors. Again, it's only an E5520, 32 gig of RAM. You see we have the drivers loaded for the NVIDIA Quadro. Now what I want to do is I want to start loading some software on here. I've already run Ninite and loaded some of the software on here, but I want to, there are some items I want to add on there, like CPU ID. So we're going to load that. And then I want to load hardware monitor and see if it can monitor the fans, the temperatures, so forth. And this is, folks, this is why I use Windows as my core operating system with the desktop interface on these so-called servers, because plus it's a light install. You know, Server 2019 only installs what it needs to. And the big deal with this machine is drivers and, you know, hardware. For crying out loud, I know Linux is great, and I know that VMware, and I know that XCP, and I know that Proxmox are all good virtualization machines, but I like having that GUI over the top of it so I can manage things. I mean, I can always right-click here and go out here to Windows PowerShell and do the same kind of magic at the command prompt that I can do under Linux. And you can see, so there you go. So I've got the command line if I need it, but I love having a graphical shell. And, you know, people say things like, yeah, but it slows down the machine. It doesn't. Not really. It's not, the server's not doing anything. Hell, it's only using 2 gig of RAM. So those that say that Windows is unnecessarily bloated as a server operating system, you guys really. And I can run all these Windows programs, and if something needs a video card, I'm running Windows, and it's not an issue. But, you know, I don't know why I feel the need to tell you that. But anyway, so here is our CPU. Wow, codename Gainstown. I don't think I've ever heard that before. It's an old processor, though, 45 nanometer technology, Xeon E5520. And there's our caching socket LGA 1366. So it's got cache RAM up to 8 megabytes. Wow, this is an old processor. Yeah, the main board is a ProLine ML370-G6. So it is only PCI Express 2, 5 gigathreads, whereas the Dell 720 and the R620 that I have are support PCI Gen 3, I believe. The BIOS, and you can see it's P63. Like I was saying, the date is the only thing that changed. So let's go to hardware monitor and let's see if it's got sensor readings, and it looks like it does. So it's showing the main board now. This can't be right. It's only showing it at 46 degrees Fahrenheit. It's 75 in my office right now, so that can't be right. So hopefully those core temperatures are right. And I wonder how long it's been since that thermal paste was applied. Let's look at storage controllers. So it's a Smart Array P410i controller. All right, well, there you can see the results for yourself. So sequential reads are actually pretty good for us, considering it's not a SATA drive, it's a SAS drive. SAS drives have a little bit better throughput. So these are the results of the RAID 1 drive array. And now I want to switch over to drive letter P and have it do all the tests on that. So we'll get that started. Those are really good results. And I don't know if they can be believed or not. This is the drive bender drive array, drive letter P. There's another test we can run on that. Let's do that. So let me bring it up here. All right, there we go. So we'll choose the C drive to start with in a simple 1080i, 1920 by 1080. Let's click on Start. And you know, there's what I thought we would get on a SATA or SAS drive. Not phenomenal write speeds. See how the read speeds are. Yeah, they should be pretty darn good. So yeah, there you go. Now the other thing I can do is I can run this test continuously, and that'll give us a better average. But I'm not going to do that. Now let's go on and see if we can choose the P drive, and let's start with that. So there you go. The write and the read are phenomenally faster. And this is where that run continuously comes in handy. So I'm just going to go ahead and start this, and then you'll see that the speeds do change. But still, reading and writing from that drive bender drive array is, according to 2 tests now, phenomenally faster than writing to the drive, to the RAID 1 array. And you can see it is, if you look behind there, you can see the CPU's getting a decent workout. Well, it shows it is, but on my... But what's odd here is it's showing no CPU utilization. Now, you know, if you know anything about me, you know I can't leave well enough alone, and I just couldn't deal with using Handbrake and not being able to see the CPU clicking off. So I did a little research on these servers, and you need to go into the BIOS setup. I put mine in maximum performance mode because I want Windows to actually control the processor performance, not the BIOS. So I give it full power. And then the other thing I did was I put there's a setting, power management. I'll put the note down in the bottom of this video. It tells you how to tell the computer, the BIOS, that, there we go, it worked. Look, I'm getting my performance on my CPU now. So you go in and you change the setting under the HP BIOS, and suddenly then you have access back to your CPU graph. So that being said, let's go back into Handbrake now. No, see, it's in the unfinished queue. So we'll go back to File. We're going to use Jumanji, the next level. We're going to do an MKV file. So we're going to do a Matroska H264 MKV. We're going to do 2 chapters. And we're going to do English and take these little tick marks off. Summary, and then we want to save it back to the... You know, it doesn't matter. Let's just have it do to the videos folder. It doesn't matter that it's on a different drive. It shouldn't. Okay, and then we'll tell this thing to start its encode, and then we should see the CPUs go to 100%. Yeah, there they go. Now the only thing I won't be able to monitor with this is temperature, but that's okay. So real quick, I want you to see the kind of temperatures we're getting up to. 84C at 100% usage, and that's a little higher than I like. I mean, that should be okay, but it wouldn't, even if I don't put another CPU in here, it probably wouldn't be a bad idea to replace the thermal compound on this unit. I have a feeling, I know I haven't replaced it since we got this server, so it could be a good indicator that it we might get better temperatures, because that seems a little high. But anyway, we're still letting this encode run, and we'll come back when it completes. But I just wanted to share the temperature readings with you. All right, so that took about 26 minutes for 17 minutes worth of video. So this thing is no powerhouse by any stretch of the imagination, but it'll get the job done. So what I'd like to do now is, on the video, I'd like to change the compression over to use the NVIDIA video card. And let's just make sure subtitles are here. And we'll call this number 2. I'm sorry, I can't tell my 2 from my 3. We're still going to do the same thing, 2 chapters, 1 and 2. Total 17 minutes, 41 seconds. Let's go ahead and click on Start Encode. And can you hear the fans ramping up? So there we go. We're actually using the NVIDIA Quadro card, the K2000, and we're still using the CPU, about 83%. You can see our temperatures rising up here. So it says it's going to take about roughly 8 minutes to do this video, as compared to 26 with just the CPU. So we're going to let this run, and we'll come back and see how it does. All right, so that's completed. It completed in about 7-8 minutes. And yeah, it worked well. As you can see, it does help to have a video card even in a server. It took a lot less time. How's it doing CPU wise? Oh yeah, it's pegging those CPUs. But I think I can do a CPU ectomy from my Dell R710. You know, that's a shame. I just got an HBA adapter for that Dell. And that was flashed to IT mode. Now I could, in theory, put that into this HP. What I don't need is a server with a bunch of 2.5-inch drive bays in it. I just have no use for them. And so it might be time to go ahead and part out that Dell, pull the CPUs, pull the RAM, pull the controller in there, and utilize them in this HP. Just talking out loud here. And see if I'm not happier with that setup. So here's what I'm talking about on my Dell R710 that's in the rack. It's got dual X5670 performance CPUs in there. And those will work in that HP ML370-G6. And the RAM in here will work in there as well. And perhaps even the HBA card that I got from Art of Server. If not, hopefully he could hook me up with one that'll work in that HP. And then I could just turn around and sell the one that I have, or put it into another model. But yeah, so these two processors are compatible with that HP, so that might be an option. All right, so, you know, it's not anything phenomenal, but it's 746 points, and that is above the worst worst record or worst reading. It's definitely not up there with an X5650 would get me. You can see the kind of performance I'd be getting with an E5600 series CPU. So I think that's what I'm going to do. It's not going to get anywhere near a Threadripper. I wish they'd list the Ryzen 5 here, because these Xeons are going to actually give it. We'll see what it is, but just remember that score, 746. But there you go. I think I've done all I can with this in the current way it's configured. But there you go. So how's that for server prawn? I can't say the other word because it get demonetized, so we change it to prawn. But I think you get my meaning. It's actually a very lovely server. I've had good times with this server and bad times with this server. Mainly it was the hard drives I had a bad time with. Initially we had some trouble with the motherboard, and HP replaced this motherboard on this unit, And I think, frankly, the problems we had with the motherboard were probably BIOS related, because this thing was being a little hard to deal with. You got to understand something. I have put multiple operating systems on here and trying to figure out which suited this machine best, and I've decided to stop treating this server as a server and treat it as a really, really high-end workstation that we can have a lot of fun with. And so you're gonna continue to see some videos on this server slash tower, mid tower, high tower, full tower desktop unit. I've alluded to that when I was talking to you about the performance on this unit. So in hindsight, I'm glad the client gave me this unit, because I can see a lot of potential in here. It does mean we're going to have to say goodbye to one of the Dell R710s, but you know, we can part it out, and maybe somebody else can make use of the motherboard or the case or power supplies. You know, nothing is permanent. Things are always changing. Now, one of the things I alluded to in the video was the fact that I can't use this. I probably could use this onboard network card. It's a quad gigabit PCI Express, and it's got the oddest little, look at the connection back there on the back of the card. And I'm assuming this is a RAM slot, you know. I honestly don't even know what type of controller this is, because here's the part number for HP. So if somebody wants to, there's the serial, and I'll let it focus in on that, so pause it at home if you need to. And then here is the part number from HP. So you can go look that up yourself and see what that is. I really haven't done any research on it. I just wasn't, I don't want a non-standard network card. You know what I'm saying? Regular standard network cards made by Intel, that kind of thing, are more appealing to me than something that might be bleeding edge, no matter. And a gigabit card is a gigabit card is a gigabit card, as they say. So that's one of the parts I left out of there. But as you saw from the video, I have so many options. I have so many slots in here that I can take advantage of. So we'll be doing that. Anyway, we hope you found the video entertaining and informative as always. Please give us a thumbs up down below if you liked the video. Please subscribe if you're not already a subscriber, and click that notification bell to be notified of new videos when they come out. Donate if you're so inclined. We accept PayPal and Patreon, and the YouTube join function. And for as little as $2 a month, that goes a long way to helping this channel to survive and allowing us to order some new toys for our ML370 and see what hoops we can make this thing jump through. Anyway, come back and see us again. Please don't forget, we'll see all of you on the other side.